Hi everyone, my name is John Brasington. I'm the head of search at PyData Metrics. And today at BrightonSEO, you're going to hear a lot, as you've just been said, about the things you need to start doing to enhance your world of web, your content. You need to do this, you need to create videos, all these kind of things that are really exciting and we all really want to do. And I'm going to teach you with a few myself. But that is just one pool of what we need to think about these days. Because when we're doing this, when we're trying to keep up with all of the things that are happening, all the changes that are there, and we need to stay ahead of everybody else, that is taking us down a route of constant content creation. Meanwhile, there's this second pool, I would say, in SEO, which is coming from the more complicated changes that are happening in search engines. The things that are making Google this kind of more advanced, incredible algorithm. And what that is doing is actually meaning that your system, all of your content, all has to be far more connected than it has ever been before. It needs to be built around authority, and I don't mean links, I mean the idea that you are an authority on your subject matter. So you need to have topics and you have to have subtopics. And if you just chase this first pull to produce more content to keep up with this, you're not going to be able to keep up with the other idea that Google really needs to see your web system as this kind of connected ecosystem, which is the term I use quite a lot. So contextual optimization is a kind of process, a methodology, even just a mindset. We have a few practical applications to help you deal with both these kind of different pools that we've been taking on. This isn't going to be an academic talk. It's not going to be philosophical. This is coming from the idea of results. Pi is a SEO content performance suite, so everything here is going to be driven by the idea that this is going to benefit you with visibility and revenue. I'm going to start with the context. As I said, I'm going to tease you myself a little bit with what the kind of things we need to chase after. And then I'm going to move into what I mean by contextual optimization. And then I'm going to leave you with something that anyone can do. No tools, well, no special tools, nothing kind of difficult. Something that anyone who's producing content for their website could go away today and start doing and start applying to themselves in a really quick and simple way that will completely change, I hope, the way you think about SEO. So, it's a bit of context. This is the search engine results page for Great British Bake Off, and it is complicated. We no longer have, as you know, 10 listings and some paid ads. We're starting to have news carousels, all this stuff from the knowledge graph, bits of information about the episodes, and things where you can find it, where you can watch it. And when you look at this result, if this is an important search term for you, you start thinking, okay, I need this bit of this, I need to get this, and I need to get this, and I need that. And I don't really know what the customer even wants. I've just got to get them a sort of access into my world, my ecosystem. It gets worse than that because we've developed a tool called rapid tracking, which lets us look at the kind of result over a day. And it turns out that this stuff isn't constant at all. You might look at it at any given moment and think, this is what is in, this is what's on the SERP, this is what I can take. And you think, I need to have this news stuff and I need to be on a platform like YouTube. But that's not true. If you sort of have, on the left here, you can see the fact that the video carousel, when you test it over a day, actually it was only present for about 57% of the time. So if you were to look at this now, you wouldn't see a video carousel and you would think, oh, I don't need a video carousel, it's fine. But actually, it's up there most of the day. In fact, Channel 4, which is their information is on the right-hand side, they had a video carousel for 2.7% of the day, which means by pure coincidence, they could have gone on there, thought they were doing really well. Great, we need to do more of this video carousel stuff. Turns out they have no chance of doing that. They're at the kind of the bottom of that visibility. Same with top stories. You start to see that's almost always there, 96% of the time, but it's only kind of 33% of the time that Channel 4 had it. And the point I bring this up is to set up the idea that there's so much you need to do right now, that there's this idea of I need to produce this and I need to produce that, and these will create doorways into my world, and from there I will gain kind of the edge beyond my usual SEO. But it is so vastly complicated that I think it can become extremely distracting from what is happening in the kind of algorithm world, in the things that are changing. So I want to take us back to the first thing you need to think about in any SEO. This has been a constant throughout SEO. It's true today as it was before. which is that it begins inside the mind of your customers. We've always had a privileged position in SEO of having access to keyword data, which gives us an incredible level of insight into what we're trying to provide people. So if we start from there, always, and this has always also been the kind of tacit agreement SEOs had with Google, the idea that we, for access to this kind of information and all the things we were up to, which they might have liked, might not have liked, we were making it easier for them, for people searching on their platform to come to our websites, to make it easier. So this has taken us to this idea, and I think this is very true today, and this is going to be essential to contextual optimization as it was before. But I wouldn't say traditional approaches, when you have this, work so much. And they work, but they're not effective enough. They don't deliver the results in the time you need. They don't deliver as much as you could possibly have. So we turn to trying to do different things, trying to appear on YouTube as well. But I do think that this kind of approach, which I think is quite isolated, the idea that you take a keyword, you create some content for it, you optimize that content, you publish it, and then you have, hopefully, rankings, and you do some other stuff. Maybe you need to do some, whatever it is, sharing it. But that will not take us to where we need to be, because they are important. You can't take keywords and rankings out of SEO. But I think you need to think about it from the perspective of your entire ecosystem for all kinds of content, not just publishing, but everything you do in terms of video and all of the different platforms that you're on. You need to approach SEO from the view that I know everything in my ecosystem, and I know how it's connected, because this is how we can push ourselves further than traditional approaches. So contextual optimization, as I said, it's a broader thing and it's a narrower thing. The narrow version of it is just the idea, is a couple of steps which I'm going to take you through around stopping and thinking, categorizing and understanding your entire ecosystem, and optimizing for that ecosystem. And by that, I mean making connections in your web presence, in particular on your website, between all of your different content, connecting all of the different ideas that you talk about, that you're an authority on, to the topics and the subtopics, and providing that information, not just for search engines, not just for Google's more complicated algorithms, but for users as well. So I'm going to start, however, with a counterexample. I'm going to talk about very successful website that is, I'm just guessing, I'm not saying they are doing this, but I think this is a good example of them working in an isolated view. So Donald Trump recently decided to talk about SEO. He claimed a very interesting claim that Google were artificially putting CNN and other left-wing publications on the top of results for him. Now, first piece of fake news, they're not. They're position 10-ish over time, so I don't know how we got to that conclusion. But what we see here in this example is that every day a different CNN article is coming in and out of the results. And this is throughout August. They've never managed to take those top results. They've been stuck at the bottom. And they've got these phenomenally authoritative pages. They're all doing, I think the best result was position 5 for a Donald Trump facts page. And they're just pushing this content out every day, and they have to because it's publishing, but it's not taking them to where they need to be. And what they have here, highlighted in red, is a kind of hub page, which from an SEO perspective, you would probably make as a recommendation. You'd say, okay, we've got all of this content. We need a good category page to capture the top term, this 5 million a month search term. You think, okay, I'll create this category page, and that's some good SEO, and that will work, and I'll get my keywords to the top position. Now, it doesn't quite work for them, however. And if you look at this other result, this other search term, are much less valuable, only 80,000 searches a month for President Donald Trump, they do have the top result. So through that page, and traditional SEO can explain why. They've got the URLs, got president in it, and so they might realize that they can only grab the longer tail searches and completely cut off themselves from the sort of the bigger prize of ranking #1 for Donald Trump. Now, I think Twitter actually ranks #1 for Donald Trump, but the other people who are doing very well are The Hill and CNBC. And so what's interesting about them is that I think they've, maybe not known to themselves, but they've approached this result in a very contextually relevant way. They've also done the category hub page, and that's fine. But they've connected all of their articles to this hub page, and they're giving really useful and relevant reasons on their sub-articles to click into the category page with good anchor text and all of that kind of good SEO stuff. But it's become so effective far beyond just taking this traditional view. And the point of all of this, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples at the end on how you can just really take advantage of this, because none of these ideas should be particularly new, but the point is that it's becoming more and more relevant and becoming so essential to perform. So here is the first tenet, I guess, of contextual optimization. This should be, after you've got inside the mind of your customer, you've done your keyword research, you understand, and you want to publish something, you've got this desire or requirement, objective, to publish a new piece of content or a new selection of content. Before you do that, just stop and think about it. Your ecosystem is now becoming quite fragile because of these new algorithms. So you need to ask this question: how will what I'm creating impact on my ecosystem? And I'll show you how. Firstly, your ecosystem is a much broader thing than your website. It can be your brand site, your social site, your partners, kind of all of these kind of connections. Everything that is connected to your website and your offering is part of your ecosystem, things you control. But I'm going to focus it today on my example of just your website, because this is something, I want to give you something you can do straight away. So, to me, this is what a website kind of looks like. Bunch of pages, color-coded for a reason. And this is actually what they kind of look like to a search engine a little bit. The idea is every piece of your content is connected in this fantastic kind of interwoven way where you can navigate through it, but also your customers can see the different bits of content you have and follow it and go on this kind of journey around there. And all of these connections is what's powering the things like RankBrain and the modern algorithm updates, all these things that have happened over the last year where we're seeing changes and all of that. I think it all basically comes down, this is generalizing and being hyperbolic, but comes down to these connections between these links. So contextual optimization is going to take massive advantage over that. And because the problem is, when you come in with your new content and you haven't stopped and thought, this is going to basically be a wrecking ball for that connection. All of this is quite fragile, as I said, and you're going to put something else in there which isn't connected in the same way or is going to conflict with the type of themes it's addressing. And what that will do, doesn't need to be as drastic as knocking a few rankings down, but it can slow you down, it can't perform, because it hasn't approached it from what I would like to say is this contextual view. So the way to avoid this problem when you've got this content you want to publish is start by categorizing. Start to make sense of your content in these ways. Firstly, I've got this new idea. What on my website could potentially conflict with it already? What are the same themes that this is addressing that I could possibly see both these pages ranking in the same result and pulling each other down? What is complementary? What is the same sort of similar ideas, but you wouldn't expect it to rank for the same keywords, but it's supportive, it is part of those subtopics and part of that same, that kind of entity group of stuff, and then the rest is neutral, and that's fine. So we need to categorize it, and we need to know what it is. And as I said, I'll give you a quick example of how to do this without the use of crawling and spending a lot of time working on how everything's connected. Just a simple way to deal with it. But when you're at this stage, when you know you're potentially conflicting content, you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to still publish that piece of content? Perhaps you need to say no, take one of those potentially conflicting articles and retheme that, improve that. Maybe you're going to take some content from the new ideas you had and update the article. Maybe you're going to do the hub page, like the news articles have been doing. And all of these decisions, once you've at least made a decision, you've completed step one. You've looked at what you have, what you want to create, and you've thought about the context of what is the best kind of doorway into my world. What is the thing that I should be providing that will please my customers the most, or achieve whatever I need to achieve. And then the second step is going to take advantage of the complementary content. And this is the core of taking advantage of those new algorithms and understanding the relevant connections. So what you can do when you know what your complementary content is as well, is connect that to whatever decision you've made, if it's the new page or the edited and altered versions. Perhaps you've combined a few pieces together. But you take that complementary content, those articles, those pages, and you connect them to whatever's new. And this is the old school idea, the internal linking. But you can take advantage of that in an extremely clever way, which will please the new algorithms. And it will enhance your rankings by significant amounts. So this is the kind of theory. Let me make it a bit more real by giving you a kind of a practical example of how you can do this, these two quite simple steps, in an easy way. So going back to the CNN example, say my keyword I need to rank for, or I want to do well for, is the Mueller case. This is something that CNN needs to be number one for. So you can find out the entire entity with the basic site search using site:cnn.com and then just Mueller case. And this will find me absolutely everything to do with Mueller, with cases, all of the kind of stuff that is related to that idea on CNN. And you get too many results. You've got 22,000 results. So we need to narrow it down a little bit. So we can now find, and you can do this on all of your websites, is we can find essentially any instance where Mueller and case are together on the website in Google's index. And this takes us to 96 results. And this is starting to get manageable. Because in these 96 results, you'll find your complementary content and you'll find your potentially conflicting content. So now you've got the basis for categorizing. We can really narrow it down to potentially conflicting through a number of methods. The quickest and easiest way to do this is to assume that if your article is going to be potentially conflicting, it's going to have the keyword in its title. So, same again, but you just add in title before Mueller case, and this takes me to 3 results now. Now, there are a number of other steps you'll want to do. You'll want to check what's ranking already, what's already conflicting, but you'll want to look for things. This isn't going to show you where Mueller case is in the H1 if it's not in the page title, but this has given you enough. This has given you a start. So now, I've already made my step of stopping and thinking, and I've got this decision to make. Going back to that decision I said you needed to make, you can look at these and think, what do I need to do? These aren't particularly focused on the Mueller case, they're just examples of it. So I would think to myself, I'm going to have to create a better hub page, a category page. Maybe I should take some content from these. I'd have to go in there and have a look at that, but I've got a decision at this stage. I'm just going to create something new. And then we can start focusing on those connections. So I might de-theme some of those other articles. It's a bit difficult to de-theme those. You could just turn it to, you could come up with a euphemism for the Mueller case. That might work. But you take that, you connect those articles, because they're also going to become complementary if we create a hub page. But we're going to find those other results that are complementary, things that are connected to the Mueller case, stuff about Manafort, stuff about Trump, all the other horrible stuff we have to read about in the US news, and connect those together through those links. And we can do this not from an SEO perspective, but from a user perspective, something that's going to be useful for people reading on the website by taking the old principles of having a rich anchor, which has the keyword in it, finding those other articles, and connecting it into my new doorway. And all of this will do, from a basic SEO perspective, is just saying, article A, which you think is a bit about the Mueller case, has got an anchor text linking to this category page, which is definitely about the Mueller case. So please just kind of transfer that information and understanding. But if you do it from a perspective of the user first, you're going to make sure that it is valuable for everyone. And that's all Google really needs to see as well, that you've thought about it from that perspective. Now, seems quite simple, but the point about it, I would say, is that it's just getting us away from a very isolated approach. It's about understanding our content as an ecosystem, and I think while this is very focused on your sort of the traditional kind of publishing and content ideas, the same principles should be applicable to everything else you're doing with your content. Understand it as categorized, understand how it connects together. Because anecdotally, this is an example, a publisher had been doing traditional SEO for a very long time and started applying these basic methods. I've tripled their visibility in the shortest period possible, as far as I'm concerned. Doubled their revenue through the same place, and as a result, they are now using this kind of simple method to do all of their SEO. So I've put this up as a nice flowchart because I realized that there was quite a lot there. You'll be able to find this on SlideShare as well. And I just recommend kind of familiarizing yourself with this and getting to the stage where you follow these steps to produce the kind of content that you should be doing. Thank you very much. You'll be able to find me out there in the hall if you want to come talk to me, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. So thank you very much.
Cheers for that, John. Really good. I have good news. I think I've fixed it. I think. Okay.